The squat is a fundamental movement in just about any exercise program, but many are confused about how to do it properly, and often if the squat is performed incorrectly, you can do a lot of damage. You can actually hurt your knees, your hips, your ankles, and even your back. So I'm going to walk you through the basic steps of a squat to make sure that your technique is just spot on. So when you line up for the squat, you want to check the width of your hips. So find your hip bones, and if you were to drop a line straight down from your hip bones, it would come right down on the inside of your feet. Okay, so your feet will be directly outside of that line. You don't want your feet lined up directly hip width apart. You want to be slightly wider than hip width apart. So when you hear that phrase, slightly wider than hip width apart, that's what that means. Draw a straight line down from your hip bones and position your feet directly outside of that, okay? And you want to line up so that your weight is evenly shifted between both legs. Here's where a mirror comes in handy. Frequently people will have their weight shifted more to one side of their body or the other. You want to be perfectly symmetrical, equal weight, equal pressure through both feet. Let's also make sure that your toes point straight forward. Many people will squat with their toes flared out. That's okay eventually, but you want to make sure that you can do a proper squat with your toes pointing straight forward, okay? So I'm going to show you first the squat from the front view, and then I will show you from the side, because both angles are really important here with a proper squat. So your feet are perfectly lined up. What we're going to do is we're going to engage the squat by first sitting back with our rear end. You don't want to think about just bending the knees to come down. The first thing you're thinking about is your hips. So you're going to almost push your hips back and your chest will come forward a little bit, but those hips are going to go back, and that's the first thing. And you're going to drop down into your squat. So from the front view, the things to look at, if you're looking in a mirror, watch your knees, okay? For many people, their knees will want to come towards each other or go too wide, or one will come in, one will be symmetrical. Okay, so you want to make sure that both legs are perfectly symmetrical. And to be able to tell, your knees, when you squat down, should be directly above your feet. So if you were to drop a line from your kneecap down to your toes, those knees would be in perfect alignment with your feet. Not on the inside, not on the outside. So direct alignment with your feet. And again, even on the bottom of this squat, we have perfect symmetry between both legs, okay? So that's the frontal view. So you're squatting down, my knees are staying directly over my feet, and back up. Now, the side view is extremely important as well. So from the side, I'm once again going to line myself up so I'm a little bit wider than hip width apart, and I'm going to pay attention to my knees. Now the first thing you do is you reach back with your rear end. That initiates your squat. You don't bend at the knees, you reach back with your rear end. Picture a chair back there that you're trying to sit on. You're trying to sit on that chair. Notice my knees don't go anywhere. They stay put, okay? So in the bottom of your squat, and you can try to come down to parallel with the floor if you can maintain good posture here. Many people, when they get this low, they'll round their back. So if you come down parallel with the floor, those knees should not be pushed out over your toes. A good thing to think of is that you have a glass wall that's coming up from the floor directly up from your toes, and as you squat down, you don't want to push through that glass window with your knees, okay? So you're sitting down, engage with the hips first, reach back with your booty, your knees don't push forward, they stay right above your feet no matter what. It does help if you reach your arms forward, because that kind of gives your head a clue that your booty should go back. So with your arms forward, your booty goes back, okay? One other cue that really helps with getting your hips back is to think about driving your weight through your heel. Okay, so as you sit down, the weight goes through the heel of your feet, not up in the toes. And even I lift my toes when I squat. Okay, so I almost pull my toes up off the floor, and that ensures that you're not putting your weight up in your toes with your knees too far forward. Your weight is way back there, okay? So all of those things to look at. So from the front, you want to make sure that you're lined up well and that you're perfectly symmetrical and that your knees stay in perfect alignment when you go down and up. And then from the side, keep the weight through your heels, sit back with your booty, and don't crush that glass window with your knees when you sit down. Keep good posture always. Okay, so those are the steps to break down a perfect squat technique.